being brown and gay or queer in Mexico. So I lived in Mexico for off and on for 6 months. In like 2024, I moved in like April, late April, to go to Puerto Vallarta first. Then I moved to a couple of other cities, and I went to Guatemala in that time as well while I was moving around. So, total of 9 months in South in Central America, but I had a pretty interesting time in Mexico itself. And for someone who's brown like myself, who's black, who's queer, I'm actually trans, but um, I'm pretty passing. I pass a lot. No one really can clock me unless they're another queer person, so I never really had any issues with that. So it's hard to even talk about being trans when I talk about my experience in Mexico because like it did not affect me. Um, I never got clocked. I never had any issues with passing. And it made my life probably easier. I have to say the fact that I could pass and I do pass. I've been on testosterone for a long time. I've lost. I don't keep track. I've lost this 5+ years or something like that, and I have top surgery. But I am a little chunky, right? So I got a little curvature to me, but that's not unusual. Like to see a chunky dude with a little bit of curve. So I haven't had any issues there. But being black or brown, going to Mexico, it's going to be an experience for you, and it's going to be an experience that's probably very rewarding, especially Mexico in particular. Um, Never had any issues. Most people, like, if I was by myself, because I went there first without my wife, I went there for 3 weeks by myself. And most people assumed that I spoke Spanish. They assumed that I was some type of Latino, like probably maybe they thought I was from Honduras or Dominican Republic. So they assumed, or Panama, right? They assumed that I spoke Spanish, and we have to like be so humble and be like, I don't speak Spanish at all. I spoke a little bit. I speak very broken Spanish, and unfortunately, what happened was, though, I was speaking to people in Spanish. I was getting by. I was communicating. People were understanding me. And then my wife came to join me. And then she is Mexican American. She's like half Mexican American, half Cape Verdean, and or half. Actually, she's a mix. She's a super big mix, but she looks very Latina. And as soon as she got there, everyone started talking to her. No one was talking to me. They assumed that she was the Mexican, and I was like maybe a gringo from America probably, and they immediately start speaking to her. So that kind of threw me off with my experience learning Spanish, but that's okay. It happens. But my experience on the whole was really good. I would say that I definitely got looks from people in certain places that I went in certain cities, but they weren't like malicious stares or like people who were like completely shocked that I was there. It was just like oh you're here. More of like I didn't expect you to be here, but not in a. I didn't feel any malice in the interaction. So I first went to Puerto Vallarta, and that's a very like vacation kind of town, very welcoming to tourists for that matter. And it was okay in terms of affordability. It was a little bit more on the expensive side. We were spending probably like I think I was spending like $1,000, $900,000 or something like that on housing. So it was a little on the expensive side for our Airbnbs because that's how we would live. But I would change Airbnbs every so often, and just to get experience in different parts of the city. But I really enjoyed that, like being by the beach. I like the food. Oh, the food was so good, especially when you didn't do anything that was like Western centered. You just get like tacos off the street. So good, so good. And delivery was fairly affordable in Mexico as a whole. I'd use Didi, and it wouldn't cost that much. The fees weren't super exorbitant, so whatever the food was, it would only cost like $2 or $3 more for the fees and the delivery cost. So really, really cost effective. But not the most healthiest food when you order delivery, to be honest. But it was really great, and I got to see a lot of parts of the town, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's also very queer friendly too. So like, even though me and my partner like we pass as a cisgender couple, like people think that we're straight. I saw so many queer people, and it's a very welcoming queer place. So if you are queer, if you are brown, you will be fine there. I would not recommend staying in the tourist areas or even going to the tourist things on like the strip on the I forgot what the name of it, the mat, I can't remember what it's called. It starts with an M. I wouldn't recommend that. I would walk that area, but I wouldn't actually patronize any of the businesses over there. It's incredibly overpriced. Just go into the main part of town and like experience real Puerto Vallarta, not the touristy part. So yeah, I had a really good time there. After Puerto Vallarta, we ended up going to. Was that when we went to Guatemala? I think we went to Guatemala, so I don't want to talk about Guatemala in this. But then we came back and we went to Oaxaca. Now, Oaxaca was amazing. We loved Oaxaca. It was such a beautiful place, very residential where we live. We didn't live in the downtown area. We lived in a neighborhood outside, which we like to do. And we were literally the only foreigners in that neighborhood. We got lots of looks. People were like surprised we were there because most foreigners live downtown. And it's a really multicultural place. Like there were so many different types of foreigners of all different colors and creeds and ethnicities. It was great to see. But yeah, we stayed in a typical neighborhood outside, and we would go to our local grocery stores and banks and pantarias and like corner stores and stuff, and we got to know our neighbors, and it was really great. We really enjoyed it, and I would say that I would go back to Oaxaca for sure. It was one of the more comfortable places, although it's in the mountains, so it gets really really hot in the sunlight. Like during the daytime, it can be really hot, but then at night the temperature drops like crazy. Like man, the temperatures would be like in the 40s at night. It was it was a little intense in terms of how chilly it could get, but like I said, the people were great. My wife had a birthday while we were there, and we ended up going to Fuerza Regida concert for her birthday in Oaxaca, and that was like a fantastic experience as well. And to be around so many people, so many young people, and they're really into the music, and yeah, it was a really good experience. Going to a concert in Mexico, that was our first and only concert, and I wish we would have done more. The only times that I didn't like love Oaxaca was when we were kind of downtown, and we did go on a hike with some other tourists, and we were like the only people of color on the hike, and the only other people of color were the people facilitating the hike. That was weird because I was like, oh, this is like, I don't enjoy being around other tourists. I have to say, I really enjoy going to a city and being amongst the locals and being one of few tourists in the area. I don't want to speak English. I don't want to hear too much English. I want to be practicing the language and fully immersing myself in like the life that is like just living, going to the stores, and then go home, go to work. I work remotely, immerse myself in like cultural activities. Like that's what I prefer to do. So yeah, we really enjoyed Oaxaca, and it was pretty affordable for the amount of space that you got compared to Puerto Vallarta. You didn't get a lot of space for the amount of money you were paying, and we'd pay the same amount of money in Oaxaca and get so much space, so much. Really, really love that. I want to go back to Oaxaca. Then we went to, technically we went to Cancun. Oh no, I forgot something. We went to Guadalajara. So we went to Guadalajara for a couple of days. I don't know if it was like 3 or 4 days, and we enjoyed that. But it's a big city. It really reminded me of San Francisco in terms of how the architecture and how the city's laid out and how things are so close to each other. It was fine. I just felt like I was like, oh, I'm in San Francisco, but I'm in Mexico. So didn't love that. I did notice though that there is definitely colorism in. For one, we didn't see any black people. Not one like a black person in that time we were there, which I thought was very odd. And then there was a lot of colorism in terms of like relationships. So we saw so many people in relationships walking around, couples here and there, but all of them were the same color. Like there were no like lighter skin with a darker skin person, or whatever skin tone you had, your partner had the exact same skin tone. So I thought that was weird, and we definitely stood out because we are interracial and our colors are so different. Like my wife is golden, she's a golden brown, and I am a chocolatey brown, So we definitely stood out in that regard, but I think we look like Americans, so people aren't like really caring. But I just thought that was interesting. After we went to Guadalajara, we met up with some friends. A friend of mine invited us to her grandmother's 80th birthday in Ocalan, so we went there for a few days and experience that. And we're in, a more rural part of Mexico, and it was great. We had a good time, and we were accepted, and we're speaking our broken Spanish, and like we went to the birthday party, and there was an awkward moment though where a friend was translating for us, and people were asking like, where are we from? And we're like, we're from the United States. And they're like, okay, yeah. And they look, looking at my wife, they're like, okay, of course she's Mexican, right? And then they're looking at me, they're like, where are you from? And I'm like looking at my friend, and I'm like, how do we translate slavery? Like, how do you, like, there's so much to unpack there, and it makes, it can make a conversation very awkward if you like, well, chattel slavery. Like, that, I don't know where I'm from, because there was systems in place to make sure that I didn't know where I'm from, and that's kind of awkward to like have a conversation about if you don't know the history of. So that was a little weird, but other than that, we were treated great. It wasn't even a malice. It was just like a weird kind of like awkward like. I don't want to give you a history lesson right now, especially in a language that I don't speak fluently. But yeah, had a great time. Mexican parties go hard, and it was fun. And then yeah, so then we went to, like I said, we went to Oaxaca. So Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, Ocatlan, Oaxaca, and I think, did I say Oaxaca already? I said it already, keep saying it. And then we went to Cancun for a little bit because we met up with some family members. And so we went to Cancun for a week at a resort. I didn't especially like that. Cancun is a resort town, and so we didn't get a chance to actually go into like the real parts of Cancun. We were in the touristy parts, which is like at the beaches and stuff. And I didn't particularly enjoy that experience, and I thought that it was very overpriced for what you were getting. The food wasn't very good, because I was like, we were paying a lot of money. I didn't pay; I was gifted this trip, but it was a lot of money for the food that was really mediocre. I was just like, I was shocked. But yeah, we did that for a little bit, and then we went to Playa del Carmen for the last bit of our time in Mexico, and had an okay time. I really thought that Playa del Carmen was going to be like a really good place for us to go, but it also had that resorty kind of feel in terms of being on the coast, and it was very expensive, and it was hard to get around. We lived in a more residential area, so like walking to the beach would take like 45 minutes. Like it was a walk, or you could take a car, which that adds up. Our neighborhood was cool. It was a little bit touristy, but it was cool. And there was a mall nearby, and there was delicious tacos nearby. Like we'd always like hit the taco truck near our neighborhood. Pharmacies and things. We had everything we needed, but it wasn't what we expected. And the apartment was hella small comparatively, from what we had in Oaxaca. It was like similar to like Puerto Vallarta in terms of the smallness for the size, and we didn't love that. So, you live and you learn. That was the whole point of us going to Mexico, was to visit a whole bunch of different places to kind of figure out what we liked, and we preferred places that were hot. We did like that, so that would be like Piri, but we didn't love the touristy parts. So Cancun, Playa del Carmen are out. Guadalajara is fine, but we already experienced that kind of city in United States because we're from the Bay Area, so we're like, that wasn't really appealing to us. But Oaxaca was great, so we're kind of in this interesting boat. Like some people were like, oh, what about Mexico City? We didn't have time to go, and it's so far north that it was like it would have been out of our way in our budget. We were budget travelers, so we decided not to do that and check that out. But I think if we were to go back, we would probably lean heavily on, if we want the heat, we would go to Puerto Vallarta. But if we want the comfort and the space and the culture that is more our speed, it would be Oaxaca. So that was our experience there, and it was great. I really had no issues. We flied Volaris, which gets a really bad rap. People talk so much shit about it. It's a budget airline, but we never had any issues with it, like ever. Like there was never a problem with our flights. We always got to where we need to go with our luggage, and no extra fees or anything. It was fine. I feel like if you come prepared and you come early and you're nice to the staff, especially when you're checking in, being really polite and thanking them and stuff, you're not gonna have any issues. So just be patient, get there early. It's gonna be fine, at least in our experience it was. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time in Mexico, And I think that a lot of people will. It's a great place to start if you're coming from the United States and you're like, where do I go if I want to leave the country and I don't know what to do, or I want to go like scout some places. Mexico is a really great place to start. It's very close by. It's affordable. You can take like Southwest to get to Mexico, which I did. I took Southwest to get there. Um, so it was like $200 or something, like one way. Very very affordable, and it's a good place just to get your feet wet and to figure out what you like, and depending on what kind of accommodations you want. But yeah, I just wanted to share that it's possible to live in Mexico if you're brown. I'm sure you've probably maybe seen other creators talk about that. But yeah, if you're queer, all of those places were queer friendly. Not one place didn't feel unfriendly. I can't say for Ocotlan because like it's such a small town, but I didn't I didn't feel no one said anything. No one said any like slurs or anything around us or anything like that. It was just families and people living and enjoying themselves. So if you're a queer person, if you're a brown person, if you're a black person, I think that Mexico is a really great place to start, and I would encourage it. And if you are looking for help in planning that, I do have resources on my website. So Nick Starchild, NikStarchild.com. There's free resources. There's resources that cost a little nominal fee, I feel, for what the value you're getting. Or you could talk to me directly, and I can help you kind of set that up and get you started on, this different path. Maybe you just want to vacation. Maybe you just want to go on sabbatical. You just want to go there for a little bit and enjoy it. You want to get out of the country because it's just stressing you out. you know, it's a really really great place to start, and I would love to help you start that journey. So please reach out, and thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.